What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Podghost. As you can see today, I'm on my own, but in a very special episode. It's not an episode you'll, relate our channel with. It's something very unique. It was something mentioned a few months ago with a podcast with Kevin Lane. For you that watch it, those who have seen it, he did say he's gonna bring on Will. So I'd like to bring on to the show Kevin Lane. Welcome back, my brother.
Welcome back, Mo.
And Will, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for inviting us.
So Kevin, I want to start off with you. If you just explain why we're here and what made you bring Will on.
We're here because I want to bring awareness to a crime that I did many years ago, to show how you can get something so drastically wrong when you think you're doing something so right, and how the impact of my actions affected Will. It may make people think twice about their actions and stop people doing it. And I believe Will needs to share his story. We've done restorative justice, and it's helping him in his life now move forward massively. And I'm hoping it'll help a lot of others. It's not about glorifying the crime that I did to him at all. It's more about I'm coming on this to take criticism and a lot of abuse online. But more so, hopefully that it will do some good and show that there is better times after such a terrible deed that I did.
It takes a brave man, Kev, to come on and admit to being wrong. We live in a society today where I believe a lot of people wouldn't really have the guts or the courage to come out and own up to their mistakes. So congratulations on that. It's a big thing, bro.
Thank you. So I've just met a gentleman, recognised me in the street, come in here. Kevin, I follow you, I've read your book, I've done a big sentence. Ryan was his name. No, Chris was his name.
Yep.
He said, everyone says, Catwalk Kev, lovely fella, great man, speaks really highly of you. So when I did my prison sentence, and even before and after, I've always said, if my sons are wrong, and we stand up and say we're wrong. And I've brought my children up to be like that. In prison, I used to say, yeah, if we're wrong, and we make it right. You're not going to be cutting anybody or stabbing anybody. What can we do to make it right? And we will stand ground and hold our heads up high. And I believe in that, and that's why I'm here. My actions were wrong, and there's far more to be gained from taking the decent position of accepting you're wrong and showing people that, and trying to find the positives in that, which may sound a little bit somewhat bad or odd, but you will find that from this interview so much good will come out of it.
No, brilliant. So Kev, if you'd like to introduce Will on the way you'd want to.
So Will, this is Will. I kidnapped Will in 1991. Two, yeah, thereabouts. I did some terrible deeds to him. Will was put up as a scapegoat at the time, of which I never knew till I did restorative justice with Will, which Will was he instigated that. I took Will away. He was allegedly meant to have put a knife to a lady, and I was told at the time a baby, and that he threatened to cut that lady and cut the baby. There was £100,000 worth of equipment that had been stolen from a company that I was an area distributor to, and my friend was the factory distributor, and he wasn't the CEO, but anyway, like I say, Will was put forward as a man that was involved in stealing that equipment with some others, and then threatening the girl and threatening to cut the girl and cut the baby. So I took him away and I did some terrible deeds to him, which affected Will's life. It changed his life. He lived on the street. He was homeless. But I'll let Will tell you the story about that, and then I'll tell you what I did, and then we'll hand it over to Will for a bit, and I'll interact there, because it isn't about me, it's about Will. And I think it'd be heart-wrenching for a lot of people to listen to. But I took Will out of the front of a car. I waited for him at the premises where he worked. I severely battered him around the head with an iron bar. I took him to a rural area in the countryside, and I ran him over. And I put the car on his wheel, onto his legs, to get some information out of him, to check where he lived and where other people lived and his family's details. I then took him to London, and I took him to a canal, helped him to the canal, struck him over the head again, sprayed him with CS gas and pushed him into the canal. I wasn't trying to kill him, but I thought you're going to get cold and wet and you fucking deserve it. You're a million miles from home. And my thought pattern was, I'm going to hurt you, make you feel cold and think about your actions again. Well, subsequently I was arrested for that some weeks later, and Will spent some time in hospital as a result of my actions, and it affected his life massively for many years. So, Will, this isn't about me, this is about how my life what I did affected your life, and hopefully all those that watch this will realise and hopefully think about their actions going forward. Maybe reach out and think about their victims, or the victims reach out and put this to bed and help them move forward with their life. Will?
Yeah, well, I think you summed it all up there. Basically, you did take me from a car. I was innocent. I didn't have no involvement with any of threatening the lady, with the baby, the theft of the equipment. And I just feel as if I was innocent. And not, I should have, I think at the end of the day we should have looked, not me, but you should have investigated a bit further into your actions, basically. But that was years ago. Move on, I put it behind me. We've met through restorative justice. And I think the strong message about these podcasts and why I'm agreeing to do these podcasts is restorative justice. It's made a major impact on my life. In '92, after the incident, after the court case, it was a case of walking out of the court, tap on the back from a policeman, there you go, get on with your life. Well, Kevin goes to prison, roof over your head, 3 meals a day, heating. Me, I had nothing. I had to walk. I couldn't go back to Reading. I found myself wandering the streets of London, homeless, nowhere to turn, no one helping me. I turned to drink. The only people who was helping me was other homeless people, and they were just making my life a bit awkward with the drink and drugs, because I did get a bit of an addiction to a certain drug and drink as well, and sleeping on the streets. And it got to a stage where, in '97, there was a period of 93 where it got to a stage where I just attempted to take my own life, but it didn't work. Took a load of paracetamol, half a bottle of vodka, but I woke up the next morning in the woods, cold, and then I just realised this ain't working. So that's when I started to try and turn things all around, try and block things out. But the only thing I was finding was drink and drugs. It was blocking it out. But I had to find another way.
Yep.
And that other way was just like walking away from everything and just leaving, disassociating myself with everybody I knew at the time, family, friends, and it just went on from there. But it got to a stage where further on, in '97, my life, I had to change things around. I found myself in hospital with drink problems, and overheard a couple of people talking, if he carries on the way he's going, he'll be dead by 40. So, and that's just, it pricked my ears up a little bit, and I thought, well, hold on.
So, Will, can I jog your memory back to obviously when it happened? For those who don't know, including myself, you were targeted? It was like a mistaken identity, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was working for. I was working in Reading, and I was working for the employment service, which was money was crap, basically. And then to better yourself, you got to apply for a new job. And I seen this job, and I went for it, and I got it. And looking back, it was fun. The job, believe it or not, because it was a sales job. And I wasn't involved directly in sales, but it was a sales atmosphere. You would be singing and dancing in the morning, singing songs, cheering up the sales force to go out and get them sales. But my job was to actually, once the salesman had sold the Hoovers, it was down to me that some of them would get them on finance. So I'd be sitting in the days, 90, 91, 92, there was no computers to do online credit checks, so it'd all be done by phone. So that was my job. I was arranging finance for the Kirby's and arranging delivery of the Kirby's with another gentleman.
Okay,
And basically it got to the stage where The books didn't balance. I.e., like, the management knew it was something going missing, basically, and they thought, well, there's only one person it could be, and that was me. But unbeknown to me, the colleague I was working at the time was actually taking the equipment out of the boxes and putting bricks and bits of wood in. So when I was doing my stock count, I was feeling the weight. I wasn't opening the boxes, physically looking, checking for the equipment. I was just feeling the weight of them.
Of course.
Thinking that's 1, 2, 3. And of course I was reporting that back to management, and then management came a weekend and just thought there was something untoward. And when they started opening the boxes, they realised it was something not right, and they thought it was me. And a lot of other people thought it was me. Because the only reason looking back on it, I think, was, I used to keep myself smart, used to keep myself clean, presentable. You know what I mean? Like wearing designer clothes, which I bought out of a charity shop. But, you know, being young, you tell people, oh, it cost me 50 quid this. But it was only a £5 in a charity shop. But people think, oh, hold on, he's walking around with all this stuff on. So he must be getting money. Where's the money coming from? And every time it's always, I would be the first person to buy the drink in the bar. The reason being is because if there's 3 or 4 of you, by the time you get to the 5th person, you know you technically can't afford another round, so you've had about 5-6 pints anyway, so you move on. But I was always the first one to get the drink, to buy the drink in.
So you had a nice heart, you know, even getting, you know, going back to your work life, getting kicked out of that, you know, for getting accused of stealing. That's not something that you take lightly, and for you to go through all of that. And then obviously what happened with Kevin, on the night it happened, do you remember it?
Every day. It haunts me every day. But it's got better. If you had asked me that question, say, 4 years ago, before my therapy, I wouldn't be able to sit here and talk to you. I would be a quivering wreck. I'll be snot coming out my nose. I'll be crying. I just didn't want to talk about it. But when I started talking about it, I feel better. And the biggest key thing is actually restorative justice. That day was just, it was like, I don't know if you've ever shaken a bottle of Pepsi up and opened it and it comes squirting out. Well, that's how I define that day. I had 30 years of pressure building up, and to hear Kevin turn around and say he got it wrong and he apologised, and I could see the remorse, I could see it, and that just opened up. It was literally, I even apologised for crying in front of him at the time. So.
See, I remember when I spoke to Kevin first time and he got very emotional about it, and even without you being there, I just knew he regretted it, and he, you know, looks back at that, and he, you know, even I don't know if you've seen the previous podcast where Kevin, you know, referred to himself as being a bully fighting someone smaller than him.
Yeah, he did.
So, you know, them sort of things is what made me, you know, kind of get along with Kev really well, because sometimes people make mistakes in life and they will never ever admit it, whether they know they're wrong or right. They just don't want to admit it. You know, so that's exactly why I said it takes a big man to come on and say to you, you know, I'm sorry after all them years, because you, and even your reaction, I was quite surprised the fact that you took the apology, because a lot of people wouldn't really take an apology as lightly as you did. You know, a lot of people would be like, you know, nah, you know, after all them years, you know, you ruined my life. Why am I going to forgive you? So what did make you forgive Kev and think, you know what, let it go?
Knowing he got it wrong, basically. He got the wrong person. And at the end of the day, I accept that he got the wrong person. And I've got to live with that, basically. So, but
if I may just say, though, I did get the wrong person, but I got the person that was put forward by the colleagues and some people in the area. He was just a ruse. He was an scapegoat. So as far as I was concerned, I had the right person in my custody.
Of course.
So when I was doing what I was doing to him, I was thinking about the baby and the woman, thinking, you threatened to cut them.
Yeah.
Well, you'll think about your actions again. It doesn't justify it. I'm not making it right. But
in your head, you were thinking like you've got someone who's an evil person, basically.
Yeah, you threatened to cut a woman and a baby. And then I found out she wasn't even a baby, she was pregnant, and that they put the knife to the lady's belly. So
did you speak to the people that gave you this misinformation?
Once I got banged up, it's a bit late. I got nicked 2 weeks later. What's caused this with me is that, of course, I feel terrible for what I did to him, and that's genuine. However, I can not live with it, but I can cope with it better because of what I was told.
Yep.
Men go to war and kill people under the government's direction. Well, this is right, and they may not feel it's right, or some years later believe it's wrong. I believed what I did was wrong some years later, and I thought I've got to put this right. But when I heard how it changed Will's life, so the story's a little bit more deeper than that. So when Will, he was found. I'll let Will tell you about. So once I put him into the canal, it's freezing cold, the water wasn't good. I'll let Will tell you this, because he had a terrible time from the start. After what I did to him, it didn't stop there. The police's handling of this, and again, it's not attributing blame, but the police said, if you think that's bad, we can actually kill you and get rid of you, and no one will find you. That's what they said to him. They threatened him. They said they'd help him. But let Will tell you that. But so he has had a real rough journey, how it affected his life after, in the terms of how he led his life. So much more, Will, than people realise. Like a person's actions, how it impacts on them, and it's far-reaching, far more than I could ever think. And that's what people need to pick up on. And Will, why don't you tell them about how you, after when you went into the canal, and from there
onwards, how did you get found? What was your initial reaction?
Well, when I was the final blow was a knockout blow, because that was throughout the night I'd seen with the injuries to the head, I'd actually seen about, I think it was 3-4 white lights, and basically, when you get knocked, when you see that, you're
unconscious.
You're unconscious.
Yeah.
Well, that final blow, I didn't recall the CS gas, but I remembered the blow, because that was in a falling, basically in the water. But what I found out later on is, because technically I could have been goner, but because of the temperature of the cold water, actually reversed. Because sometimes if people fall into the water, you can die because of the shock. But this had a reverse effect on me. It actually shocked me back. Because when I went under, it just sort of
woke you up, sort of thing.
Woke me up basically from the blow, and then I sort of somehow managed. I heard the car driving off, and I somehow managed to get under a bridge and hide, still in the water. And then I realised it was all quiet, and then I don't know how I got out. I don't know how I got out of the water.
Didn't you?
I crawled.
Massive area.
Yeah, I crawled. I floated to an area which I thought I could get out of, but I must have got out of. It's a part of that I can't remember for some reason. I just can't remember getting out. There was no one there helping me, And I got out and I crawled across the road to the other side of the bridge, and heard a car coming, and quickly rolled into the embankment to hide, because I thought they're coming back to see if they'd finish me off. And I lay there for about till daybreak, basically. It was about 6:15 in the morning, considering this was from about 11ish in the evening, basically about 11, 12 at night.
So a passerby found you there?
No. I hid until it got daylight, and then I noticed a couple of houses the other side of the bridge.
Yep.
And it seemed like 10 miles away. That's how long it felt to crawl and sort of get across to it. And I just lay there punching the front door, and the bloke come running to the door, see me on the floor, and thought I'd been hit by a car. Because that's what he said. I remember him saying that if someone's been hit by the car and they've managed to get here, and the next thing I knew, an ambulance turned up, and then the police, and then I got took to hospital. Then
injuries? What injuries did you?
I had it was 4 head injuries to the head, broken nose, fractures here because I was defending. There was more if I didn't put my arm up. A couple of cracked ribs, and severe tender damage to both legs.
Fractures to your legs, isn't it?
No, it was just tender. It was all the top muscles. Yeah. I couldn't walk for about 4 days. I couldn't put any weight on, but they reckon that I caused a lot more damage crawling across the floor. to get to the houses.
See, the thing is that with this sort of stuff, we always look at the physical side of things, but not the mental side. So mentally, you know, you must have gone through so much. Not only was it a fight to get back to your normal self, but even to think, you know, like you said, it led you astray sort of thing, you know, turning to alcohol and maybe the wrong company.
Yeah. Well, it's a path that I'd never visioned. The path that I had seen,
Yep.
I expected I would make a career with this company and move on and hopefully, you know, get married, couple of kids, settle down with a couple of dogs, perhaps get my own business, but that never happened. And that is something that I think about a lot. You know, I mean, if I'd turned left at the junction, but we actually went left, and what happened, basically.
For 30 years, let's get this right, for 30 odd years, he had left me. He lived homeless. He would go shopping at 4 o'clock in the morning because there was less people around. He wouldn't get in the front of a car. He'd get in the back of a car. If he was driving, a cab driver or just someone who he vaguely knew, and he'd be in the back, and you took a turn in that he was thought was wrong, he would get out of the car as soon as you stopped and bolt. There's so much more to what happened to him and how it impeded on his life and infected him that I had any idea about. It affected his life with his family, that his friends. He's getting some messages and such recently from colleagues and friends of right back then and said, my God, we had no idea. Will, that's correct, isn't it?
That's right, yeah, because I've kept it. And it probably will come, as I said in the other podcast, it will come to a shock. Some of the people, I've kept this. I say I've put my skeleton back in my cupboard. People say, no, you've got the skeleton. I said, no, I've put him back in. You know, I mean, I've still got that skeleton in the cupboard, but he's in the cupboard now. He's not, because I had this fear that he was going to come and get me. You know, it sounds strange, but no,
it's not strange. It's the way you felt about a situation.
I could be walking down the high street, going in one direction, and stop suddenly and walk back the way I came because I'd just be paranoid. I think I just want to check to make sure no one's following me. It's the same with a car. I'll take her if I'm driving on my own, or I've got my daughter in the car. I'll pretend to her I'm lost, but I'm not. I'm actually watching the rear view window. Think that car keeps following me. Why is it? But you know, it's just paranoia at the end of the day. But
Does
a lot
this
of people
happen to you now, or?
Not so much now. Not so much.
In the car with me now.
I get in the car with him now. And on the front.
It's mad that, you know, I can laugh about that because the seriousness of this, it really is serious. Let's not make a mockery of it, but it's nice to see that the recovery is going forward for Will. But what is important is that Will, and I don't mean to talk over Will, the only reason I interjected is to, obviously Will's, you can imagine he's still somewhat nervous about this, and he's fragile about it. He isn't completely repaired yet by far.
Of course.
This is a healing process for Will to go forward and better his life and move on and enjoy the rest of his life. But what happened to Will wasn't just by myself. Like I say, it was the police. And Will was led to believe that I did have a security company when I got arrested for this. He said security boss Kevin Lane. I was only a young man, but I had 120 doormen working for me. I had loads of pubs and clubs and raves and such. So for Will's thought pattern, he must have thought, this geezer's going to want to come and get me. I had a trial where he didn't turn up. They put it off. I thought it was a retrial, but I've had quite a few trials over my life and I forget about them, but forget about the details of all of them. I mean, the police made us led to believe that he was found by a gentleman walking his dog and pulled him out of the canal. That's not quite true now, as we know, as it was that it wasn't a baby that was found, it was a pregnant lady whose belly a knife was put to.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, these facts are coming out now many years later. But when he was in hospital, they found a number in a cigarette packet that was rolled up, and if they hadn't found that, they would have known who he was because he was in hospital for days, not knowing his name or anything. That came about, wasn't it?
I was known as John Doe for 3 days. They didn't know who I was because I just didn't. I don't know. I just didn't want to.
You just didn't want to talk to no one.
No, I didn't want to talk to no one in case they were gonna. If I said something, even though I was in the hospital when the police were there, I thought, oh, hold on, they might drag you out and take you down the basement and put one in the back of your neck. I don't know. It's just crazy.
You had so many
thoughts
questions going through your head at the time, wasn't it?
Crazy thought. But what got me, the journey back, coming out of the hospital, the police said, "Oh, we'll take you back to Redden. We need to take you back to Redden police station and take a statement from you. And roughly from the hospital back to Reading Station, it was about an hour and a half. And that was the most intimidating hour and a half in that journey by 3 police officers, basically wanting to know where the money was. And, you know, I mean, this is what, as Kevin said earlier, threatened to basically sort me out if I didn't come up with the money, because they thought I had even taken the money. But after a lot of pressure in the car going up there in the station, back to the station, once they realised, hold on, he's got nothing to do with this, then they changed their attitude.
So what you're saying is the police were trying to get that money from you?
No, not. They were trying to basically find out if I'd done what, you know what I mean, what was flying around, because by this time the phone call had been made, yeah, he's missing, but there was rumours that I've got 100 grand with me. But I hadn't had a penny with me that night, actually, so nothing, because we were going out, and that's the reason we turned up to the office, was my partner was borrowing some money off the boss so we could go out.
So instead of the police, you know, being there for you and helping you through it, they made it worse for you.
Well, when I think back now, because one of that journey I do remember quite, not 100%, but vaguely, but I remember some of the stuff they were saying, and they were jokingly to begin with, but they were going, "Come on, we'll split it 4 ways. Come on, where is it?" You know, I don't know what you're talking about. Considering I was still in pain and head injuries, and
wow, just corruption, isn't it?
Well, if you think that's bad, so we can actually get rid of you and get away with it, is what they said to him.
Yeah. They said,
yeah, so they were corrupt, weren't they? So what they were trying to do is thinking you've got the money, they'll get the money and they get rid of you.
Yeah, I think good cop, bad cop. But in the same breath, they thought he had done it. He had been led to believe they'd done their investigations whilst he was in hospital, what they was told. Up until they interviewed him, they thought he had done what I thought he had done. I believe that's what they thought, to have treated him so badly.
But we're never going to know the truth, regardless.
Know the truth. But why would you treat someone who's been in hospital for a number of days, run over, tortured and battered to pieces in that state? You think it might have been a little bit more delicate in terms of their investigations and their questioning.
Of course.
You can understand he had concussion, he didn't know what had happened to him and why it happened to him. I feel it was a little bit of a very bullish behaviour from professionals. And he must have thought, what's going on? I've had a fellow here who's almost killed me. And now the police are treating me the same as how he treated me. That must have had an impact on him for the rest of his life, because when it came to trial and he turned to drink and such, he didn't turn up. And the police had to come and find him.
That's right. First day, I went for a walk, and I mean a walk. The police thought I'd gone missing, but they eventually got back home about 2 o'clock that afternoon, and the following morning, that was supposed to be at Reading Crown Court. Then they moved the trial to Oxford Crown Court. But on the second day, a friend of mine offered me a lift there. Of course, yeah, no problem. But en route, I'd drunk about 4 Stellas. Got to the court, went across to the Weatherspoons, I had about another 8 Stellas, and went to give my evidence, and I was told not to because I was too drunk and drugged up to do it. And then that's when the police took me home and brought me back the next day. Kept an eye on me, so I couldn't drink or do anything in front of them. So they kept an eye on me and made sure I turned up to court. And then I was told after, because I was wanting to come every day, and they said, "No, we don't want you in the court." So they wouldn't have let me. "We'll ring you with the verdict." So I had to keep away, basically, and, you know, I mean, not got to hear what actually went on. But over the years, I do understand
why they did that.
Why they did it, yeah, and basically why it was me, basically. But it's all starting to make sense now.
He was promised therapy.
Yep.
He was promised relocation, start a new life. But let's not distract from what I did for him. This isn't about that. This is about the whole process of victim and support, and how other victims may have felt, and may give them some understanding that they're not just on their own. This has happened to maybe quite a few people. I'm not saying that collectively, but across the board, there probably is quite a few that's been treated like Will, which is obviously sad if they have. However, when he gave his evidence, no lift home, off you go, bus home, no therapy, left on his own to deal with what happened to him, and maybe try to make sense of that crazy evening. And then afterwards, no support network for him. Again, he must try to understand in his own head, well, why did I not get no support when they promised me so much and then discarded me?
You think they would, wouldn't you? You think they'd give you all the support you needed to recover and help you through it?
Yeah. Well, when you look at it, from the 90s, when you look at all the criminality that went on and the amount of victims that's probably out there, it's like me, no help, no support. So that's why I'm really doing this. I'm hoping it's someone who watched one of these podcasts and, as I was 4 or 5 years ago, can sort of like look at this and have a bit of hope. There is help out there, and you know, maybe bit later on in life, but it is.
It's better late than never.
Yeah, and you can turn your life around, as I have done in the last 2 years since I've met Kevin. You know, I mean, it's like taking 2 paracetamol every morning when I get a message from Kevin, because I know it sounds weird, but it's just one of those things that I don't know. It's hard to explain the relationship. We've got a bond because of what happened, but you know, I mean, our relationship. If it hadn't been for restorative justice, I would have probably, I don't know, I wouldn't have long to go, basically, because it was just running me down, and it got to a stage in 2019 where it got to, I just basically had a big, I remember it, 22nd December 2019, 11 o'clock. I just remembered, so got back to going to a meeting, and just something triggered in my head, and that was it. I just walked off that job and went home. And that's when I started thinking, well, hold on, I can't go through life any longer with this, having to do this, because it's not the first time I've walked off a job, several times.
So you couldn't basically get along with your life, you couldn't move on, could you?
No, I couldn't hold down a job, because it got to a stage where, you know, there was a period, from about 2000 to about 2015, where it was sort of like, because I was working away for a construction company, I was working away and no one knew me, and I tended to calm down a little bit, but the dreams were still there. And I just find that at the time, I should have got help then, but I left it. I just tried to, in my head,
try and get over it.
Yeah, get over it. But then I realised with the power of Google, there's help out there. And it's called restorative justice. And, you know, people think, well, how do I get in contact with these people? There's 2 routes. There's one, victim support, and second, the Why Me charities. Just Google Why Me charities, and it'll come up. There's loads of them in the UK. Myself and Kevin are going to be getting involved, hopefully soon, with a Why Me charity, and get the message out to victims.
So, we'll travel about, moving area to area, job to job.
Yep.
Never staying in one place. Never got what he was promised. And then he did the restorative justice with myself. I was asked if I didn't have to participate in that. And when I was asked immediately, I said, absolutely. I will go there, he can scream and shout at me, and I will just take it. And so I will sit there and I will offer nothing back in terms of aggression or threats. That's what I knew I was going to do if he came in there with that point. I thought, well, rightly so. This man can say, and he could, I wouldn't say do what he wanted. If he wanted to give me a right hand, I'd have let him give me a right hand or 2 and taken it and said, well, I call this nothing really, you know. The old woman's hit me a few times more than that. But with the will, I think, to meet the man that did all those terrible things to him years later, and then meet me as a person that I am, and he knows this is no act, you know, outside of this interview, and in other parts of my life, that to try and imagine the person who did that to him, and then the person he knows now. He thinks, well, Kevin's not actually, and I say this, I hope, and I believe it's true anyway, that, blimey, Kevin, he's got decent morals, he's got a decent way about him, and I say this,
he's genuine and nice guy,
thank you, and that Kevin, we're mates, and who would ever have thought that? Now, if I was a right, horrible, nasty bastard, that some people are in this life and do think such things like I did, but I know I'm a nice person, I know I'm a nice person because of the people that support me, meet me, like me.
Yep.
And I mean massively. For Will, it must help a bit because if I was an horrible git, it would have been anger towards me. But to meet a man who actually you have a laugh with, and he takes the piss out of me now, literally, and he goes places and stuff like that. But that's good. That's what mates do, isn't it?
It's amazing.
That's nice enough. I can see you, cheeky little bastard.
You see,
that's what pals do. And
of course. And, I always like, it's so weird for me to think, going back to that terrible night, to think if someone showed you today, then, and said one day you're going to be sitting together, talking about everything that happened, and you're going to be pals now, you'd never think that would ever happen.
So I'll tell you, when people see your trailer without knowing the story, I will get people coat me off.
Of course.
Abuse me without knowing me.
But that's the world we live in.
That's the world we live in, so get the full picture. But they will never imagine for one moment in time that I am the person that committed that act. And then once they hear the story, they might think, well, if I'd have heard that he'd put a knife to a baby, although it wasn't him, of course, it was someone else, then we might have thought, well, quite rightly so, you did what you did to him. Because the police were called about these actions, but they didn't have enough evidence to proceed. Not by me, but by the owner of the company. These gentlemen that was nicking the equipment turned up at the premises and tried to get into the premises. It was a big office building and were shaking the doors that were locked to get in. To obviously threaten people about going to the police. Yep. And that is when I got the call. Kevin, can you do something about this? But don't you go. I went, no, I won't go. Well, I went. Right, so...
Because you thought you're doing good. You never thought the person you're going to attack is not the right person.
I thought I was John fucking Wayne. Rooster Cogburn.
See, you're right. Because Kev, if you look at it from Kevin's perspective, he was told you've done something that you clearly didn't do, but he's not to know that. So he's taken, the finger in his own initiative and thought, I'm going to teach this guy a lesson. So I do understand what you mean, Kev, about people not, understanding the full picture and just seeing a trailer where you'd say, I attacked this guy and you saying he attacked me, but there's always a story behind it. And
it's a sad story when you think of the truth that we know now. It's
terrible. It's unbelievable. It's actually a tragedy. If you think about it, it's something that, you wouldn't even think that would happen.
I wish I'd have got the right fella.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know his name?
No. I don't even remember his name.
I'm missing. I'm a retired kidnapper.
So, Kev, I want to ask you a question. How did you guys actually, after all these years, who reached out to who and how did it unfold where you got in contact again?
Great question.
As part of my therapy, back, I started therapy in 2000.
Yep.
And when I explained to the therapist, because it was mental health matters, Philippa, excellent therapist, got to give her a plug.
Yeah,
she's helped me through a lot. To this day, she's still helping me. But the therapy was when we got to a stage of the therapy, she mentioned it. How would you feel meeting? Would it be a case of can you do? And that's when I started. What's this restorative justice? What's this about? And that's when I got first wind of it, and I thought, well, I'll give it a go. And contacted the victim support route. Then they put us up with the restorative justice in Oxfordshire, and that's when we got in touch with Martin. Contacted me initially, a quick chat over the phone. Then I meet, but it's not a quick. That sounds quick, but you're talking. It took about just over a year for us, over a year for us to actually sit down face to face.
Can I just interject there, please?
Of course, yeah.
Will's therapy should have been, was it 7?
7 months.
How many sessions was it you was meant to have done, and it went on to be 17 or something?
It was 8 sessions, but I had severe PSD and they had to extend the actual sittings.
For 7 months?
Bloody hell.
And they said it's so severe, it was the longest they'd had.
My score was 85 when I started, and by the time I'd finished the therapy, it was down to 12. So and that just goes to, and that was in between meeting Kevin as well.
So when you first got a call or an email or whatever it was, what was your initial reaction? How did you initially react to that?
My probation officer,
Yep.
Steve Watson, excellent man, excellent man. I have to
Yeah.
really respect Steve as a man and a probation officer. I just like to thank him for everything he's done for me in terms of keeping me
Pick up
straight
Steve on that.
and giving me direction when I needed direction and support. And he came to me and said, Kevin, what do you think about this? And I've been contacted. He said, I think it'd be good for you, Kevin. But it'd be definitely more better for Will, both of you. And like I said to you earlier, I definitely said, yeah. So took a year. I had to go and meet Martin. He interviewed me because you can imagine some people turn up and it can kick right off.
Oh yeah, 100%. Or it might be a ploy on your end, or
Yeah.
you know, I want to
Don't know what Will's
do
got.
exactly.
I'm going to stab the fella to bits.
Exactly, yeah.
Because obviously he had post-traumatic stress, so he could have been in a non-mental state.
100% agreed. Yeah.
All right? But when we turned up, I felt actually sorry for Will more so than I did if it had been in the surroundings like this, because it was in a building that the Mormons used. Nothing like about that, but it was like an old village hall type, small building, real small, not massive hall, real small, like house type building. Cold, big draped curtains hanging down, as if it was like the Addams Family. Quite dark. It was really cold and damp in there, and it added an eerie feeling to it. And we were sitting. We all went into one room.
Yep.
I was taken into the little hall type area, but it's not much bigger than. You could have a gathering in there of 30 people. So it wasn't big, okay. And I had to sit there, and then Will was brought in, and we had probation there.
Security.
There was people there, but not security.
Okay.
So can't really remember that actually, but that side of things. But there was a few people there. We all brought in, and he sat opposite me. But I think the coldness definitely didn't help him, because he obviously was thrown into the canal that was freezing cold. Now he's doing restorative justice in another cold room. It wasn't warm and friendly and.
I know exactly what you mean.
You know,
they could have made it in a place where you felt a bit more homely,
more comfortable.
Yeah.
Definitely wasn't inviting. It was very, very bleak. And I think, Golden Bennett, you're sitting there fucking shivering.
Better to go to a hotel lobby and sitting down there.
Oh, Golden Bennett. He said I want to go to a lap dancing club, so I don't like him. That might have made him smile a bit during the interview. Wouldn't have looked good, would it? It was a very serious situation.
No, of course.
So we did that. Will broke down during the interview. He asked me some questions, and he said, have you got anything you'd like to say, Kevin? And I said, I'd like to apologise to you for what I did to you. I'm humbly sad and shocked and appalled that I got the wrong person, and I wish I'd have got the right person. And I remember when I went to prison for it, the jury came back and said they made a wrong decision. There we go. They was put into a hotel over the weekend at Oxford during the summer, and they went downstairs, came back in no time at all with a guilty verdict. I went down to confer with my barrister. The jury came back with a note to the judge. We had to go back upstairs before I was sentenced, and the jury said, we've made a wrong decision. And the judge said, I've got to take your first answer. And I said, it's not a game show, Your Honour. You know, genuinely. And he said, I understand there's going to be immediate appeal, should I say, and bail application. And I conferred with my barrister, John Alban Williams, excellent barrister. And I said, do not appeal. I'm going to, I did it. I didn't give evidence to say I didn't do it. I'm going to take this on the chin. And the judge went 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, and 2 years to run concurrently. He said that he thought I was a vigilante. So he said that in open court. He said, but vigilantes can't go around running free, having a free, not a free will, should I say, but at will to do what they want. And you have to go to prison for this. And he sentenced me to what I just said. But there was women jurors that were crying and men that were shaking their head. I don't believe I would have ever got guilty if they hadn't been forced to go into a hotel, because some of the women had the same clothes on that morning that they had the day before after being in a hotel. But as I said, I took it on the chin. I said, no, I'll go to prison for this. And I went to prison for it. And I remember I had a probation officer at the time. So I spent 6 months on remand. I got bail because the police were caught out lying.
Yep.
One of the witnesses it was in the building that I kept everybody waiting. I held them, not hostage, but I held them at their will, waiting for Will to turn up at his premises of work. And that witness was called by the police and asked to meet her at the end of her road. So the case was corrupt to the core. It's not just about threatening him, this is some of their actions thereafter. She met the police at the end of her road, got into the car in the back, and there was a file that had Kevin Lane on it. And the police asked her to make a new statement, showed her my photograph, and they wanted her to identify me. So when it came to the 6-1 committal, the old-style committal at Reading Magistrates, I appeared from prison.
Yep.
And my barrister, John Auburn Williams, said, why do you keep referring to Mr. Lane as Kevin? She said, and she came out, well, I've seen his file, blah, 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 and told the police. And during the ID parade, she said, it looks like him, but it's not him. They changed it to, it looks like him, yes, it's him. She said, I never said that. And then told him told the court what I just told you. I was given immediate bail, there and then. And the court came to trial about 14 months later or something.
14 months.
14 or something like that afterwards. So I'd been on bail for quite some time. And then I went to prison, and I remember the probation officer saying to me, I thought I could be out in no time at all. But I have a 2-year sentence. I got 2 years parole, because she says to me, what do you think about the crime? I said, I'll do it again. I was young, testosterone coming out.
Yeah, of course.
I said, I'll do it again. I said, if I thought someone had threatened a woman and a baby with a knife, I'd kidnap them again. I wasn't getting parole, was I? So, I laugh about it now, like stupid young bastard that I was. Like, with my fucking little chest out, I was like a little pigeon. I was a little baby pigeon. And so I did my deed, and then for years and years I thought what I did was right still, until I went to prison for the murder. I had a lot of time to think about my actions over the years, and I used to think about Will. But at the time I thought he'd done it. It wasn't until we did restorative justice night to sit there and listen to what really happened.
It's crazy.
And I sat there and thought, Golden Bennett, absolutely shook me to the core. Because the only reason I really did that was because if I'm not having some arsehole do that to a woman, fucking he's getting it. And that was pretty much how I led my life from a young man, doing things to people who deserved. People who had knocked out, done things that I thought were you. The old women would go, oh, it couldn't have happened to a nicer person, Kevin. Not me, but the people I'd hurt or done something to. And when old people like you in the area and young people and that, and it isn't justifying myself, but I did think I was a pillar of the community going around doing things where the police couldn't protect them. But it had a massive effect on me, what happened to him. And then during that, I think during the questioning and what Will had to say, and then asking me questions, when we left, I give him a cuddle in there. I said, come here, can I just give you a big hug, please, mate?
It's deep, yeah.
I give him a big hug, right, and he felt
Well, this when you first met?
Yeah. He broke my ribs.
I'd been training.
Strong guy, ain't he?
Yeah. So I give him a big hug.
It.
And he said, how are you getting home, Will? And he says, you get on a train. I said, do you want a lift? I had a lady with me at the time, my former partner, very attractive lady, very soft in her manner towards Will.
Yeah.
And of course I think that made him feel a lot more comfortable. And obviously what took place during the interview, or the restorative justice, and I gave him a lift all the way to his home. Took him home.
Oh, wow.
Went and got a coffee with him and took him home. And I'm trying to do what I can for him in a minute. I'm on hard times myself because I've had 2 years worth of difficulty with business, and I'm equity rich, cash poor. People have heard that say, but as soon as I become a cash rich, which won't be much longer, I've just got him a car, and I'm trying to do what I can for him as best I can. But his life will change significantly.
Yep.
In a very, very near future. We got your hair cut the other day at Swell's Barbers, didn't we, Will? I mean, he used to only have his hair cut twice a year. I said, if I'd had time, I'd have took him to Kelly's beach house in Hereford and got him a sunbed as well. Sunbed, haircut. I mean, that shows where we are now. And
amazing.
it's amazing transformation. So all those people at a beer, have a beer, don't we, mate? We took a beer and a curry the other night, and I'm introducing him to some of my pals of same sort of ilk as Will, soft nature, kind, easygoing. And I've got a couple of pals, Gary Crabb and Philip Meakin, grew up with him, real nice lads, and they've both had a bit of a hard time themselves. And I said, I think you'd make good pals with these two, and you're going to come and meet and have a meal with us. So things are going to change for him, and they're changing for me, because don't believe it, it sounds somewhat, it's not right really, but I am obviously taking stuff from this myself. In terms
of course you are, yeah.
Helps making me think going forward in life. Thinking I was the bollocks hurting people all the time who deserved it. Well, I wasn't, and it wasn't right in many areas, because it must have affected my family for my actions by going to prison. Of
course it did, yeah. Yep.
But I do also think that the police can't protect everybody in today's society. They're under-managed.
Pressure as well.
Pressure. The society's far worse now than it was. And there will be people who do stuff like this and go to prison, unfortunately.
Well, you know what? Watching you guys getting along.
He's got his hand on my knee.
Yeah, he has.
I'll tell you where his hand is.
And I always like leaving the podcast on a bright note. So before we wrap up, guys, just one last question. For people out there, Kevin, who have committed similar things to you and have ruined people's lives, and people that want to, somehow, because after committing a crime like you obviously did, you have to accept it first yourself before you openly accept it to anyone else. What's your message to them people that have done stuff like that and do want to come out, but maybe haven't got the courage or the bravery or the balls technically to come out? And
so I use a terminology, and I say this respectfully. I don't mean to say put your hands down your pants and find your bollocks, because you found your bollocks before, didn't you? So be a man, and people will respect you more so. But it's not about you getting respect from that. Think of what that would do to the person that you've committed that act to. Think about what you may have done and how they're leading their life and destroyed their life with children. He's got a daughter. Effective. All my actions affected his life for years. If you've got any decency in your heart, you won't want to have done that deep down. So if you can do it and reach out to TEDs or victim awareness or restorative justice, do it. You might just find something in that for you, and be grateful that you did do it.
Honestly, guys, it's been absolutely amazing to have you on. So, Will, thank you very much for your time. And Kevin,
thank you.
As always, thank you very much. So there you have it, guys. That was Kevin and Will on Podghost. If you liked what you see, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. And Kevin, if you want to introduce that book, where can they get it?
So, Fitted Up and Fighting Back, I've just ordered 1,000 copies, so we'll be selling it again soon. Amazon next day delivery. But in here, it talks about Will as if he did it. So I'm doing a voiceover of this book soon. You'll get it on audio. But the next edition of this book is going to be rectified to, I thought he did it, but in reality, at the end of it, it will say, I got the wrong man.
Amazing. So there you have it, guys. The link, I'll make sure all the links are in the caption below. The charities, the books, everything will be in the caption below. So make sure you guys check that out. So until next time, guys, take care. Peace out.